So my most ridiculous business travel story, there are many to choose from because I've been doing this for a long time, but probably the craziest one was the all-night trip to do a pitch. So we ended up, based on travel delays coming out of Chicago all the way down the East Coast, it took us about 3 flights, trains and automobiles to get to a pitch in Tampa. And by the time we made it there, we had not slept for the entire night, hadn't showered, hadn't done anything. Did a quick change up in a local rest room and made it to the pitch and won the account, thank God. So it was a great team and truly an adventure. But that's probably the craziest business trip that comes to mind.
So I was in India with my family working on a project with a company, and we went up to the Himalayas, and there's a lake in the Himalayas. There's a few lakes, but we're on this Lake Dal staying in a houseboat, and we were sharing the houseboat with a Tibetan monk. And he was the oldest Tibetan monk or Buddhist monk in India, and he hadn't traveled around India at all. Him and I ended up staying up later than everyone. We couldn't speak to each other. There was no common language. The translator had gone to bed. And we sort of looked at each other, didn't know what to do. It was a bit awkward. So, we sat down on the couch, and I was flipping through the TV channels, and there was WWF or WWE wrestling on, and he told me to stop. So the two of us sat there for about an hour and a half watching wrestling. And so I think, I'm probably one of the only people, I would say only person to have watched wrestling in a lake in the Himalayas with a Buddhist monk.
Most ridiculous business travel story is actually directly linked to FCM. So we get together as the FCM management team on a relatively regular basis, a few times a year. And there was one particular occasion where we had decided not to stay in hotels. And so Marcus had booked us in this beautiful villa in the south of France that looked spectacular. We were all very excited to go and spend time together as a group. And then we got there. I think this villa had starred in certain movies of a specific genre through its life. It was all a bit grim. It was a bit like a prison. There were things hanging off the ceiling, holes in the ceiling, showers that didn't work. The water wasn't running for 2 of the 3 days that we were there. Yes, Marcus is no longer in charge of sourcing our venues anymore.
So my most ridiculous travel story was at our global gathering last year in Las Vegas. And upon exiting the global gathering, I discovered that I had COVID. I then had to stay behind for 5 days in quarantine, but unfortunately, somebody stole all of my clothes out of my hotel room. All I had left was a tuxedo. So I went out to buy some clothes. I went down the street, went to a factory outlet, bought some stuff, came back only to find out that I had now violated the hotel's COVID policy, and I was then physically removed from the premises.